Hi, welcome to my next lecture on the Queen's Gambit declined, specifically talking about the Lasker defense. See my previous lectures for some of the moves or explanations to the moves. The Lasker defense starts out by d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, black castles, knight f3, and previous lectures I've covered knight on b to d7, which is the orthodox defense, and then the Tartakower defense starts off by h6. And actually the Lasker defense starts off by, we're on the sixth move, black plays h6. So h6, and then I've already explained bishop to h4. And then now we sort of get into the meat and potatoes of the Lasker defense. This is really where the Lasker defense starts. And maybe just some basic, or what is the strategy of the Lasker defense? Well, black just plans on playing, exchanging some pieces, sort of he wants to have a solid position. It's a cramped position, which means black lacks space, and black plans to exchange some pieces to get a better game. That's the simple strategy. So from here, black is going to play knight to e4, white, and then white's going to exchange off the bishop, the black bishop, and then white will play rook to c1. Like I said in my last lecture on the Tartakower defense, that this is the I don't know if natural, but this file here is probably going to be open for white, or this pawn is going to be exchanged off, and that's where you want to put your rooks, is on the open or half open files. So white will put its rook on c1, and then black, continue with the strategy, will exchange off the knight. But here white is going to take back with the rook. And there's no need to take back with the pawn. That would just be sort of doubling, opening your pawns, things like that. So take back with the rook. And then black will play c6. Basically, c6 is a move that helps support d5. So it's going to support the center here, because black does plan on playing e5, freeing the bishop. So it plays c6 to help defend d5. Now white will play bishop to d3 once again, the natural location. How many times have I said this in my lectures? Eyeing here. And then black will take the pawn on c4, forcing white to waste a move recapturing. And now what does black play? You got to tell yourself, if you've watched all the other lectures, there's really only two moves you've seen. It's knight to here, or pushing the pawn. Just like, take your choice. So which one would it be? That's one of the reasons I cover all these lectures, hopefully in a logical sequence, so you can see the development or the common themes among them. Just as you can see, one knowledge of one variation really helps in the other variations of maybe what the ideas are or what the possible moves are. So the next move, most common move by black, is knight to d7. Obviously getting the knight out, and it helps to control the square, or when black plans to push the pawn to e5, and then the knight can actually go to f6 if it wants to. So a developing move with multi-purposes. White will castle, needs to get castled. The battle's about ready to ensue or get on, and obviously it knows that white plans on playing e5. It better get its king out of the center, so best to castle. And now black does play e5. Once again, striking at the center, sort of threatening the capture. You know, if white happens to recapture with the pawn, which it wouldn't in this case, would leave white with an isolated pawn. Isolated queen's pawns are common in the queen's gambit. So I don't know if we've actually seen one, or we haven't gotten. I only usually cover about the first 10 moves, but later on, getting isolated pawns in a queen's gambit game is common. So you have to learn how to play them. But e5 strikes at the center and once again frees this bishop. Now what should white play? Well, you know, what is there to do? It looks like black is threatening the capture, which is no big deal. We can handle that. We just recapture with the knight. Annoying looks this move here. Do we need to do something about it? I don't know if we can. Obviously, you know, the queen needs to move, and so the queen needs to move, and this rook needs to come somewhere. But actually, white's next move is, I want to call it sort of a cautious move, playing the bishop back. Whoops. Obviously, the bishop wants to be sort of along this diagonal there in the attack. I mean, it's pretty good on this diagonal. It may want to stay here. But if it ever wants to come back to this diagonal, it can't right away. Because if it dropped back, you know, then black would just push the pawn, winning a piece. So, white's going to drop the bishop back. It can stay here and attack along this diagonal here. Or it can move to here, or it can attack along here. So now it has some flexibility. It also gets out of the way of the rook, because the rook wants to sort of, you know, bear down upon this file, and the bishop was in the way. So sort of a multi-purpose. Not apparently obvious, but it does. If you look at it, that's the reasons behind the move. And then now black plays e4, sort of annoying. Also gaining space. If you don't know, if you look at it, it looks like with that move beforehand, you know, it's hard to say who was sort of controlling the area over here. Well, now with this move, it looks like definitely black controls this area, so it's sort of a space gaining move. And the only good place for the knight, well, now the knight has to move. Where should it go? I mean, if you just move the knight to here, black's going to recapture or capture, and black will end up winning a pawn. So it doesn't want to move the knight to here because it interferes with the rook coming over. So the logical place, the only real good move, is knight to d2. And then for black, the very logical move is knight to f6, getting out of the way, freeing the bishop once and for all. The knight comes where it actually now protects the e4 pawn. And now the rooks can come to the center, or there can be some type of queenside battle. So that's where I want to end that lecture. Okay, that does it for the Lasker defense. I'm now going to talk about my next lecture about the Taurus defense.